All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Million Marker Instagram Live. Today we're gonna have Ian from Gaia Guy joining us. Let's see. Here you go. Hi, Ian.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yes. Sorry about the technical difficulty. We're trying to record on both Zoom and Instagram. Okay, ending Zoom and let's just do Instagram. Hopefully the
Okay,
connection, everything will be okay.
I think so.
Yes.
My phone
Thank
is seen better days. I've got like half my screen is peeling away, and half the side of the screen I can't use anymore. It's my mom's phone actually. It's a hand-me-down, and I'm
Nice.
reluctant to buy a new one.
We know the reason, which we'll go into in a
Yeah,
bit.
exactly.
So, just for introduction for anyone who's new joining us, my name is Jenna. I'm the founder and CEO of Million Marker, and Million Marker is dedicated to shining lights on brands that are doing good for the environment as well as the human health. And the Gaia Guy is actually our first approved product ever. So we're like
It's an honor.
super excited to be here with Ian, and we had several conversations, and we'll have some upcoming projects. So thank you, Ian, for joining us. So like now, first let's like talk about Gaia Guy.
Okay.
What made you decide to start the business?
Well, it was really my own selfish desire to have products that I felt good about using because it was so hard just to find simple things like, can I find a kitchen brush that isn't made of plastic? And at that time, this was 2016. I wasn't really aware of many bamboo toothbrushes at that time. Now, my goodness, there's lots of bamboo toothbrushes, most of them still using nylon bristles. And that's why I got into this whole thing, was just to create solutions that I wanted to see. Ones that would ideally be made from biodegradable products, actual biodegradable, not hybrid, weird chemical bastardizations of what used to be natural and now is actually turned into something different, which is quite ingenious the way they can do that. But it then makes that product almost like a petrochemical product. And some of these other nylon, I almost like nylon products. So I was just trying to create these kinds of products that I wanted to see.
This is
And
cool
that's
because
what I
we
did.
know it's not just a toothbrush. You have, cork yoga mats and you have loofah, sponges and so much more.
Yeah, I think the ideal for me is the simplest. It's sort of the way I go about eating. If I can eat something that grows in a garden and hasn't gone through a factory and is minimally processed, that's the ideal for your health. And if you can buy a loofah, which is actually grows in the garden and can be very useful scrubbing your body, scrubbing dishes, scrubbing the floor, and maybe that's all you need with a bit of baking soda to do the job, or vinegar that you can create yourself. That's the ideal. So, and I've been through some ups and downs with sourcing materials and creating products because you can't always rely on people being honest about what they're giving you. So when I thought, oh, these bristles are bamboo charcoal. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can't believe it. This saved the world, right? Well, little did I know it's, 5% bamboo charcoal and it's mostly nylon. And there are still many companies that say, yes, this is biodegradable. Whether they are still believing their suppliers or they just want to dupe the public, I don't know. But I've seen many popular brands still claiming that things are biodegradable when they're not. And I stopped selling that kind of toothbrush because I thought, well, it's quite hypocritical of me to try and sell that toothbrush to people, even though many people don't want to use a boar bristle toothbrush for various reasons. And people always ask me, well, where do these bristles come from? And I'd like to say they come from some magical farm where the pigs just voluntarily shave their boar hair off and give it to us, which a lot of people might want to believe. But the reality is it's a byproduct of the meat industry. It's been going on for probably since we've ever had toothbrushes. People have been using either horsehair or boar hair. And it is a solution that is a actual zero waste solution. And so those are the kinds of things I try to find. Even with the cork yoga mats, I love cork and I want to do more with it. But, recently I've discovered that a lot of the cork materials, when you take all the little pieces of cork and all these agglomerated cork bits, well, there's two ways to stick them together. One is through heat and steam, and that's an expanded cork, and you can see that with insulation and other materials and underboard flooring and stuff. But most of the other cork you see is polyurethane mixed together.
Yeah.
So, maybe it stays locked up in the cork, but it will probably render that not very biodegradable. It's a petrochemical glue that keeps your yoga blocks together. And I just recently found that out. And I haven't been doing a lot of yoga products because of those issues. I figure, just put a mat down or go outside and do it.
Right.
I don't know.
No, we love your practical way of approaching sustainability. And then we know there are 500 millions of toothbrush that gets into the landfill each year. But how do you decide to, which type of product to feature in your store and to offer to people?
Well, it's ones that I'd like to see, but I figure there is also a demand and people are also asking, and I'll ask people in my little audience, what do you want to see? And then try to create things. Or if I just see something that, it just has not been done. So it's been a lot of the brushes, because the brushes available now are generally very, very cheap, made of plastic, easy to break, but you don't care because you can replace it for $1, $2. So I've tried to give those kinds of products that are very useful, functional, and, maybe you have to buy a new one once a year, perhaps. Whereas those plastic ones, they break. I've broken lots of plastic things, and I thought, God, why is this such a piece of junk? But then you're not too bothered because it's so cheap. And we don't think of those consequences. So just trying to solve solutions that I have. The one big problem for me and most people is food waste. I live in an apartment right now, and I've been composting food waste on my balcony. And I had some terracotta pots that I got made to do it in. I was trying to prototype something. Then I've just used other garden pots. So that might be a product that I'd like to work on. I do see, obviously, there's a demand for that food waste side of things. And I've seen people create solutions and go on Kickstarter and sell about $5 million worth. But basically, they're selling food dehydrators that do use some microbes and other things, I think, to process it. But it is still, I can see that product being rented on its way to the landfill. You don't own that product. You're renting it until you throw it into the landfill, because it's complicated. There's moving parts, plastic frames.
Yeah.
It's not a great solution. It's just another kind of gimmick. Dehydrating food waste. Well, you might as well just put it in the sun then, I guess. I don't know. Or just simply bury it, which many people do. But I was trying to find a solution that you could actually do just right on a balcony or inside your home without having to worry about all the worries that people have with trying to compost food waste at home.
I think this is also the part when companies, manufacturers trying to create product, they don't really think about the life cycle cost. So,
very few do. Yeah, very few do. And it's recently I've looked a lot at the housing industry and the incredible waste that comes out of that industry, building even out of wood. You think, oh, it's built out of wood and this, but then they layer it with so many different things. It becomes almost impossible to take it apart and recycle it. They just smash it into pieces and throw it in the landfill. Whereas now I've seen people building, prefabricated modules out of straw and hempcrete and all kinds of things that they could actually, at the end of life, although it should last 50, 100 years, as long as it's got a roof, You could actually take it apart. You could use it for biomass, biochar, rammed earth. You could just put it back to the earth and build a new house out of the rammed earth. So I'm looking more into building materials as well, which is another huge industry where the waste is incredible. The embodied energy is out of this world as far as concrete goes and other materials. Spray foam, I applaud people for going tiny, but it's just a tiny less bad than the big bad houses that we normally build when you use spray foam and all other kinds of toxin. And you would know better than me what sort of toxic things are floating around your house when you build with these kinds of materials that off gas for, I don't know, a decade, let's say.
Yeah. So making products like can return to the soil, that's like the best way to go.
That was the whole point, really, of Gaia Guy.
Yeah, so you also mentioned, on your website that you wanted to offer product at fair prices, like, different type of kitchen sets, you have it for $10 to $15, which is like a super good deal compared to other so-called green brands. So could you explain the, importance and philosophy behind fair pricing?
Well, I just feel guilty charging too much for things. It's like, I know Calvin Klein sleeps well at night selling a t-shirt for $80 that he had made for $2. And I guess he sleeps very well in whichever house he decides to sleep in that night. But there's one thing to say, well, yeah, obviously I'm taking a risk with my own money to source these goods, and I'm trying to create a business that at least gives me an income. I don't know if I've ever taken one yet, but at least gives me an income
I can echo that.
To continue doing what I do with this business and try to scale it to a size where, making a few dollars per item is enough to keep it going, rather than having huge markups that other companies do. And it's such if they're successful, I guess that's great. If they're providing goods similar to mine, well, hey, fantastic. You have convinced people that your product is worth this premium through whatever clever marketing, and I guess I should applaud that. But I guess my idea was make a fair product, fair price. It's enough to keep me going, and through scale, because it needs to scale. Everything is scale. I would love there to be, all this Etsy industry going on where people are working away and creating a right livelihood in their living rooms or wherever they're crafting these goods that everybody's actually using. But it's such a tiny portion. It really needs to scale to huge. I mean, it has to be in Walmart. It has to be in Target. It has to be in these kinds of places to, I think, make a significant impact. And people are price sensitive, especially with the goods that I generally supply. Yoga mats and other things, well, people are willing, I think, to pay a premium for these affordable luxuries, I guess. For me, it's just it's a big product. It's heavy. It's the shipping that it's so expensive for many of these products that I have to. People maybe wonder, well, that's kind of expensive, I think, compared to what I can go and get at a dollar store. Well, I try to make it affordable, but the shipping and the logistics of everything makes it quite a challenge.
Oh, we can totally echo on that.
Know.
Yes, absolutely. We're also trying to have a fair price to cover, and then also trying our best to make it affordable. But yes, shipping is huge. We use FedEx Priority overnight, and then each box that we have people return shipping getting back to us costs on average between $30 to $40 for overnight shipping. So that's already under like 75% discount, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. But
it's a struggle.
Yes, I totally agree on the scaling part, that we want people to become eco-conscious shoppers, so then they can care about it. I know you're a believer in eco-conscious shopping. Could you explain, like, the concept to our reviewers, like, what is eco-conscious shopping?
Well, I guess just and there's levels, I suppose. You could just walk into a store and look for the item that doesn't have excessive packaging, and it could be a product that may be not so eco-friendly, but for whatever reason there's no packaging. Great, first step. You've gotten something that doesn't have needless packaging that's definitely going to go to the landfill. Our recycling rates are appalling at best. So don't count on recycling, unfortunately, even though I grew up with, give a hoot, don't pollute, and all those things. But I guess taking it to the next level is then looking for those items that you know that you can deal with yourself. So you can say, I can buy this, and I know I don't have to make this a problem for somebody else. That's the life cycle, I guess. Your own usage life cycle is that I know I can compost this at the end of life. This bamboo and boar bristle toothbrush, okay, it's not like my plastic one. It's a little bit different in some ways, better in other ways. Then I know I can compost this. So I guess it's just having more responsibility for the items you purchase, and probably not purchasing things is the hardest part for our culture, because we're so good at selling stuff to everybody. We end up buying a lot of things that we probably do not need, obviously. So I guess the most eco-conscious consumer is somebody who doesn't consume.
Right.
They're makers and they're recyclers. They go to the garbage dump and find stuff and make stuff out of it and those kinds of things. But no, I realize we do need to satisfy needs with items that we have to purchase in a store. So I guess just looking, I always look for minimal packaging. Can it be recycled by myself? Can I do it myself? I don't want to depend on another person, because chances are it's not going to happen unless you happen to live. There's only a few counties or cities in America that actually try, maybe San Francisco, maybe they're the only ones that try to deal, maybe Berkeley, that actually try to deal with all this stuff and don't ship it somewhere else. Recently my phone is looking like, the piece is ripped off, half the screen doesn't work. I'm still using this thing, but I realize I really need to buy a phone, I think, because it sometimes just doesn't function, and everything requires you to log into something because of some password. You need this phone, or you can't get into your money, or I don't know, lots of stuff. So now I'm on the lookout for products that can, electronic goods, because that's beyond my pay grade. I don't really understand how to put them together or how to make them. But I recently found a company that's launched a new laptop, and I'll be looking for a similar cell phone that is actually designed to be repaired by people. It may be your neighborhood. So the laptop company is called Framework. I don't know if you've heard of this. It just launched, I have not. Framework. It's brand new, and it's kind of like a plug and play. You can buy add-ons that just plug in. It can be upgraded, can be taken apart. So you don't need to chuck it out and buy a whole new one. So products like that, I'm very interested in, especially these technological ones that I have no idea about. They're very complicated. And the recycling that is done is generally we send this to another country. They smash it up, burn it, try to get out gold and other precious metals. And they end up inhaling lots of toxic fumes and probably having birth defects because I wanted a new phone. So that's the kind of stuff that makes it hard to sleep at night.
Electronic waste is another huge topic, worth for several Instagram live sessions. So we'll get there one day. But we totally agree that we want people to vote with their dollars. And that's why we also want people to support Gaia Guy, like manufacturers like you, thinking through the whole process, thinking through the life cycle cost, so then we don't end up having all this waste. And then big companies, like they do greenwashing, right? Like you mentioned the recycling, but recycling doesn't really work, Like, could you touch upon greenwashing for our viewers?
Yeah. When I use words like all natural, I actually mean it. Recyclable means recyclable, not, well, it is recyclable if you take all of these different composites and strip them apart layer by layer, and then it can recycle it. Yeah, maybe, but there's no facility to do that. So some of it's blatant, like companies saying, or the coal industry saying, now we've got clean coal. I mean, it's like, you can't just say clean coal and makes it clean. It doesn't work like that. So it's all of those keywords you have to look out for, you know, the all natural, even just throwing eco on anything these days triggers something in your brain, even mine. I'll be like, oh, eco, what's this? And then you look deeper and you're like, oh, there's nothing eco about this. They just literally slapped the word on. So you have to take a moment it's a feel-good word, these feel-good words that make us think that we're doing our part. I love when people say I'm doing my part. Well, I'm glad you're doing your part, but look into it a little bit deeper. I mean, I'm guilty of it 100% because I'll buy goods and then realize later, like, I thought this was an all-natural biodegradable thing, but you have to, biodegrade it on the planet of, Neptune or something. It doesn't biodegrade on Earth, apparently, because it needs some special conditions. But they get away with it somehow it's not regulated, I guess. It's a complicated one because people can use any kind of words in their marketing, basically, and get away with it. Even ones that are really trying to do good, like fair trade. Sometimes when you look into the fair trade side of things, there are ways to probably for companies to dupe that organization that is trying to do their best to make sure things are fair trade. But it's a struggle. I mean, it's just so hard to do good. Unfortunately, it seems very hard to do good and to buy things that are actually good.
Yep. We just had one comment coming: tampons, pads,
Yeah.
pregnancy tests, fertility, medications, and packaging, everything is, so much waste going there.
I did a blog post, which is weird for a Gaia Guy to do a blog post on pregnancy tests. But I did a blog post because I happened upon somebody who said, you can buy those strips, the pregnancy test pieces of paper, you can buy them in bulk. For like $5, you could get like 50 of them or something ridiculous. You don't actually need to buy the pregnancy test that has this plastic housing for your little piece of paper. So these kinds of solutions should be more widespread and known. I know a long time ago I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm very totally out of my depth, but pads and tampons, I know a long time ago they did have those cups, and now those cups are making a resurgence. Now I've seen in many countries where you can, and they've got helpful videos showing you fold it in and insert like this, and you just take it out once or twice a day. And I don't like that you have to dump it into the toilet, but at least that's better than all the pads and tampons, I guess. But that's so I applaud any woman who's gone against the grain of modern society and uses those kinds of solutions, which once people try them, they end up, oh, wow, it actually works better. It's like a long time ago, I used to use Old Spice, and I thought, I need the antiperspirant. Give me all that aluminum. Let me, not knowing that there was aluminum type product or material in my deodorant and thinking this is wonderful. And then realizing, oh, you know what? Baking soda, coconut oil, or any base oil pretty much does the trick right there. You won't smell. You want to smell nice? Put on some essential oil and you smell nice. Toothpaste is filled with so many different things, comes in a stupid tube that you can't do anything with. And look into the literature and research and science that people have actually done and go, oh, baking soda, it's basically all you need for your teeth, really. a little bit of, again, essential oil if you want it to taste better than salt. But you can literally brush your teeth with baking soda. It's less abrasive than toothpaste. You wouldn't think so, but... So I guess just that's where the eco-conscious comes in. When you look, they go, oh, I could buy this, or I could just buy the base ingredient. That's actually all I need. I don't need the frill and the packaging and all the nonsense that goes with it.
Right.
And you save a lot of money that way, actually. I've been brushing with baking soda for ages now.
So good tip.
Yeah, baking soda, and, you know, we could get into the shampoo side, because imagine all the bottles with shampoo and whatnot, and you probably know as well more than I on all the chemicals that go into many of them. So shampoo bars, or just using, again, probably baking soda and vinegar for some people, or many people like me, I use my loofah and just scrub my head. It just scrubbing your hair for me is enough. I don't use shampoo or anything.
Yes,
Which some people would go, oh, that's weird. You must stink. Well, no, it's just.
So if some people think you're going too far, then people can always take a little step back, right? Like use a shampoo bar instead of buying like a whole plastic bottle of shampoo. Like for pads and tampon, use reusable pads or tampon if you're not ready to go for the cup. So there's like a lot of like middle steps that we could do.
Yeah, or even I know there are. I probably looked into it before. Any ones that are not made of plastic and have pieces of plastic, because they might say, "Oh, this has got sphagnum, peat moss, and blah blah blah, whatever they got in there." But then there is also lots of plastic. Diapers is another one. I saw someone doing actual biodegradable diapers, and collecting the diapers and doing this was in Germany. They were doing this project. But we really need those solutions to become more attractive or widespread. Recently, I've been giving a lot of thought to my human waste, which sounds weird, but think about all of the waste that goes down in the fresh, clean water. It's like we should be dealing with that. So composting toilets is another area that I'm interested in. And people that have done some research on actually making sauerkraut and then taking the liquid from the sauerkraut, using that to ferment their own urine. You didn't expect this when you said, hey, I want to talk to Gaia Guy. Didn't expect this, did you? Fermenting their own urine, because then it doesn't smell. The ammonia doesn't oxidize and make that horrible ammonia smell. It actually ferments the urine and keeps the nitrogen available. So then you can let it sit for a while to be safe, I guess, even though urine is pretty sterile. Bacteria may grow in it later, but not in an environment with lactic acid. The acid would neutralize anything. And then you can use that urine on your plants to grow your own food. You would have to tell your friends about it, I guess, if you were giving them some salad that was made from your fermented urine. But people work on that. They do research on it, and it helps plants grow. It almost has everything you would need. I saw somebody do some research showing that the urine from one person for 1 year could grow 150 tons.
Oh, wow.
Of wheat or something. Like you could literally fertilize, a couple of acres of land with your own urine in 1 year, supplementing maybe with some wood ash, biochar, and maybe eggshells or something like that.
This makes perfect after Thanksgiving dinner talk. So we have like several questions for you. Like one is how did you get into this? That's the first question. And second question is what's your plan for your sperm? Do you wonder about that?
Do I wonder about that? Well, my only wondering how did I get into that? Again, was the angst of having to buy goods for certain things around my house, basically, that I had to buy plastic. And I thought, no, there has to be a better way. So I did that. Yeah, I don't know. I have to look into that other part. The only reason I might have given sperm more thought than I should have is the word spermidine, which is a nutrient, I guess, in sperm, which is also in fruits and vegetables. And you can look into that for fun. Probably some kind of longevity thing I was looking at. Um,
Interesting. So now, like, other than Gaia Guys, what are some of your favorite brands that doing similar things as you do that you liked?
yeah. Well, I like what you're doing because it's something that I would not have any clue about how to go about doing. That kind of science side to see. That's. I think people maybe instinctively know that they're full of chemicals, essentially, in plastic now, apparently. But you can actually show them and perhaps also demonstrate when they make certain changes that, oh, wow, if I do eat organic for 2 weeks, or I can actually dramatically lower a lot of these toxins that are floating around in our environment and in us. Again, this laptop company that I just saw, anybody doing things that I like their mission statement. Their mission statement was, what was their mission statement? Something like, should have the right to repair, I think is a movement, even the right to repair, because Apple and all these other companies don't want you playing around
Yep.
and fix their products. They want you to, and it's really, I would say it actually is a conspiracy, just like the light bulb conspiracy. I mean, it really was a conspiracy. It's an actual conspiracy to make things obsolete. So anybody that is designing products that can be fixed or goes back to the earth, those are the ones that I'm behind. So, and again, looking into the building industry, because that is such a toxic industry. Anybody doing things that are providing alternatives, like, again, I've been looking into expanded cork for people to insulate their homes better than using the spray foam and all these other kinds of products. So I would like to get into that side of things, perhaps offering, a turnkey, build your own, totally sustainable, biodegradable, bio-based house. Because I rent now, and it would be nice to have my own space where I could feel good about this shell that I inhabit, knowing that it either could go back to the earth and wasn't just less bad, it actually was holding carbon. It wasn't negative. So people, even now, they build these awesome passive house, amazing houses, and the embodied energy is so high. It's sort of like the plastic bag, reusable bag debate. It's like, well, you need to use that cotton bag 8,000 times for the embodied energy of a plastic bag. And you're like, oh man, I'm never going to win at this. So that's another thing, that the embodied energy, again, is all I have to remind myself, oh, what's the embodied energy of this product? It might be a good product, but the embodied energy is actually quite high. It's not a brand, but it's an institute that I'll have to let people know about. Geopolymer. This guy basically discovered or rediscovered how the ancient Egyptians and other people actually made stone. Softened stone, and, I'm sure people might have heard of Roman concrete and other products or other technology like that. Even now, we don't really quite understand how Roman concrete was made, but geopolymer is a solution right now that's been around for probably 20 years that could replace concrete, which is 10%, 9%, 8%, whichever statistic you want to read from, of carbon emissions. But there's already solutions, geopolymer, and it's something that could be used for the building industry. And there's, I think, one company in Australia, Wagner's, who's built one university building and has built a runway, which is kind of ironic, but it's a runway, but they built a runway out of this geopolymer, which can replace concrete. Using byproducts, using natural materials. It's quite an amazing solution that's here today, but because of the slow-moving building industry, you have to prove this, that, and it's been proven. There's structural tests, but it's such an uphill battle because of the way of everything's ingrained. Concrete must use concrete. Otherwise your building will fall down.
So is that the tackling the construction industry, the next for Gaia Guy?
That and the human waste side of things I'd like to offer, and the food waste side of things, I'm still interested in coming up with a good solution for people that they can do actually at home. Some people, they have a garden. It's a lot easier to compost when you've got land and things. But if you're in an apartment, dealing with that is challenging unless you organize your apartment building to do it, which that would be ideal. Then
so we'll be looking out for those products in the future.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today. And then, Gaia Guy is actually running a sale already. And then also for our followers, you can get additional 5% discount. All you have to do is just click on the LinkedIn bio for this post, and then you get discount. And make sure you follow Gaia Guys and check out their products. And I can testify, I love those board hair toothbrushes, because those are actually the longest lasting toothbrushes that I have ever used. And they're pretty amazing. I think it takes a little bit learning curve to start, but once you get used to it, it's very, very good. And then literally the longest one I have ever used. And I throw them in my green bin after.
Yeah. I'm very pleased to see people, it's not a nylon toothbrush, so the bristles occasionally break, just like your hair breaks sometimes. Bristles break that are made of the hair, a natural hair. Sometimes you might have to go with their hair. It's like people that buy anything, I guess, made of natural materials. You have to treat them with a bit more respect than you would plastic. Plastic you can get wet and it probably won't mold. Other things, if you leave them wet, natural materials will tend to go back to soil through biological processes. So be aware of that. And I'm very happy to see people that support Gaia Guy and those toothbrushes are aware of that. And I've got a lot of repeat customers with that product. It is the best selling item I have for sure. And lucky to have people that are glad to have that product.
Thank you so much. So everybody make sure to check it out. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay, bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.